Hey guys, welcome to my channel, Car Story with Anthony. I'm here with John, one of my best friends, and his 1957 Chevy pickup. John, how did you get into cars?
My father, when I was a kid, my father was a car salesman. So, he would come home with a different car pretty much every week. So he got a job with this place called Eggy Motors. Eggy Motors sold AMC. So that's right around when, they came out with the AMX and the Javelin. Then my father came home with an AMX, and that sat in our driveway. And I just remember all the kids coming over and like ooh and ah and looking at all that. And then the next thing he comes home with a Javelin. And then they had a couple other cars, I guess, at the time that were like really, big and muscly. And so that kind of got me started in the cars. And I just remember, as a kid, you see one guy down the street and you're pointing, oh, I'm going to get me one of those. And I actually did get a Javelin. I had a Javelin for like a microsecond because, again, I had kids at the time and this car was not a kid car. And the best part about that car was if you didn't like somebody and you just go around the corner, maybe doing about 20 miles an hour, and the passenger door would fly open because it just wouldn't latch right. So, my wife was very, very, very aware of not making me upset while we were driving in that car. Yeah.
So it had an injection door.
It did. It was like James Bond before James Bond was ever.
You were John Bond.
I was John Bond. That was it.
Go.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started. My dad was a big car guy, and that got me going.
And he was selling the cars.
Yep, and he just got, demos, got to bring them home. And I remember actually at that same time, one Christmas, coming down, and there was a little slot car set, and it was the AMXs. And he got that through work, and yeah, it was kind of neat. He was a big car guy.
And that was I guess more of a futuristic thinking company.
Yes, yep, because that car looked like nothing you ever saw before. Yeah.
Even today, I think if you take the 70 to 74, you get more of that different style.
Yep.
It wasn't cookie cutter like some of the stuff we see today.
No, well, that Javelin that I had, it was a hunk of junk. It really was. But it ran great. But even looking at it, like the way it was styled, it had that shape, and the door handles were flush. You didn't see that before. And just the shape and the interior, the way the interior was set up, it was so big inside, and it wasn't really a large car, just, and just the shape. It was just amazing.
Was that one of the first ones?
That was a 70. That was a 71. So
okay.
yeah,
so it had the big fenders, like the bubble fenders.
The huge fenders. Yep. And the hood was, if I remember correctly, that thing was like a cave inside there.
Yeah, there was a lot of room up front.
Yeah, I think it only had. I don't think it had. Did they come with 340s?
American Motors, you had a 304, a 360.
Mine had the 304 in it.
And a 401.
Okay.
When you got into this 71 to 74 was 401 was the biggest option.
Right. Yeah, mine had the 304. But it ran great.
So John, tell me about your first car. Do you remember your first car?
Yeah. My first car was a 1964 Rambler American. Okay. My father found it, picked it up in Florida, okay. Brought it down. And I think after the first day I had it, I blew the motor. So we had to get the motor replaced. It being a Florida car, it didn't have any heat, didn't have any defroster. It was a flathead 6. Okay. And, looking back now, it was actually a pretty cool car, but 17-year-old, it was like, eh.
Was it automatic, manual?
It was an automatic, yeah. Automatic, had the bench seat. It was white with like a teal interior, real Florida car kind of look.
Okay, so it's a 2-door, not a 4-door.
It was a 2-door, yes.
2-door?
Yes.
Okay. after that car, what did you move into? Did you move into something sporty? Because you said you were 17.
I was looking for something a little more sporty. So after the Fury, I found I think it was like a 77, it was a 75 Olds Starfire, which was like the little Chevy Monza. Again, a 6-cylinder, but it was a 4-speed. It was my first 4-speed. And, you know, it was kind of sporty looking, so, you know, put some Craigers on it and, you know, did little things here and there to make it look sporty. As far as speed-wise, it was okay, you know, but it was a stick. So I got to learn my first stick driving that car.
And after, well, any special memories with that one that come to mind?
Yeah. Working at a mobile station, and when I would work at night, you know, they would give us access to the bays and stuff. So I decided I was going to put traction bars on the car. Got it up on the lift, and you know, was toying around with it, and unfortunately, I undid one too many bolts, and the rear came flying down at me, and kind of was hanging by the brake lines for a little while, and I remember my boss wasn't real happy about that, so he had to come and put it back together.
I understand. The Monza that you had said that you were doing some modifications to it, and the rear fell out.
Yep.
Okay, and basically, is there any other stories of
my mechanical prowess? Yeah.
Mechanical, I guess it could be mishaps.
Yes.
Maybe.
I had changed all the wheels, put Craigers on it with wide tires, and so I had taken it to a shop to get the tires changed, and you know, they put them on, and this one wasn't on me. At least this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. But something must have happened. I think they kind of over-torqued the bolts. So I'm coming out of my development, and I get to the corner, and you know, there's a couple nice-looking girls walking down the sidewalk, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to impress them. So I dump the clutch, and wheels start spinning, and I'm coming around the corner, and I look over to my right, and I see this wheel go flying by me. And I'm like, hey, look, somebody lost their wheel. And then, like, maybe about 3 seconds later, the car just dropped, and it started dragging along, and then now the girls are walking past the car, and they're just pointing and laughing at me, and I'm just, like, hiding my head. And
now, after that car, now you had a stick shift.
First stick shift, yep.
And then you moved into something else after that. You're learning about cars, obviously, now, not to undo all the bolts.
Yes.
And then you moved into something
different? Yeah, at that point, like a lot of my friends had more muscle cars. I had a friend that had a 67 Nova with a big V8 in it, and another friend of mine had a Chevy Vega where they dumped a big V8. My boss at Mobile, he had a Corvair with a big V8, and so, you know, I was looking for something a little more muscly. So I actually ended up getting my first new car, 79 Camaro. Didn't get the Z28, but I had the Berlinetta, which was a little more, I guess, classy. I guess it had wire wheels, stuff like that, and it had a V8 engine, so that was my first V8. And first car that was like more popular.
So that's the first car that you purchased?
That's my first new car, my first payment, yep.
Okay. And did you have any particular brand of car that you were drawn to?
Mostly Chevys at that point. Yeah, because after the Berlinetta, I think I ended up getting 2 more Camaros. I did get a Z28 in '82. And then I think I got an '85 Z28, so the next few were Chevy. So Chevy was the brand at that point.
Was there a time when you said, okay, you became a father and stuff, so you needed a different type of car?
Yeah. Well, when I had my first daughter, I think at the time my most reliable vehicle was a 57 Chevy Bel Air 4-door. I had bought it used from some guy that in Atco, and I mean, it ran good, but you know, no seat belts, nothing like that. It wasn't safe. At that point, yeah, I kind of had to take a detour and start getting into cars that were, you know, a little more family oriented, Monte Carlo, but always had the, you know, the hunger to get something that, you know, was collectible. Didn't have a garage at the time, you know, nowhere to keep things.
So then later on you got back into buying what you liked at that time.
Yeah. I think the first thing that got me back into, I guess, more muscle was I bought a 2001 Ford Lightning, and that truck came supercharged. You know, had plenty of power, but I had a friend sitting across from me here that liked to tinker with things, and so we played around with the supercharger, put a Whipple charger on it, and changed the transmission and fuel pumps, and we decided we were going to race them a little bit, and yeah, that gave you like the need for speed kind of thing, and so that was the first muscle truck I guess I had.
So you were introduced to that world of modification.
Right.
And then from that point, it's, well, I can do this to any car now that I have.
Yeah, well then at that point it was like, okay, you know, what do I really want? You know, what's the car that as a kid, you know, I remember getting a Whitney book. They used to come in the mail, and I think they're still around, Whitney, J.C. Whitney, but I remember getting the book, and in the back they had, like, the last 4 pages was, you know, build your own T-bucket. So, you know, they had all the parts and this and that. You could buy them right from there, and something I always wanted to do. And I happened to start looking around, and I found a guy in Pennsylvania that needed to move and needed to get rid of a T-bucket, and, you know, price was right. And I remember going into work, and they had delivered it, and there it was, you know, sitting there. And so that was my first kind of modified, you know, it was fiberglass, but still, it was something fun.
So it was your first kit car.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So you never had a kit car. You saw it in
Nope.
a magazine, and
I'm not super mechanically, I mean, I can do things, but I'm not that guy, like, can build things from scratch, you know, but so, you know, I get things that are already built and then play around with that. So that's kind of where I went with it.
Different driving experience because it doesn't have windows.
Didn't have doors. Yeah, you know, loading my carcass in and out of a T-bucket was always fun to watch. Yeah.
Do you have any particular fond memories?
There was a couple with that car. Yeah, I remember we got it, psyched up to drive it, and you know, turned the key. It started right up. It's running. You're like, wow, this is great. Climb in the car and it would shut off, and I'm like, what did I, you know, is it my karma? Do I smell? What's happening, you know? So, you know, started again, ran fine, got in it, shut off. You got in it, ran fine. I got back in it, shut off. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So we were like going round and round with it, and it came with, if I remember right, it came with stacks on it. We thought, you know, it had 3 carburetors. We thought maybe that was the problem. Changed it out, fuel injection. You know, everything's right there. Same thing. And here, found out later that in the back it had a like a cross suspension. So when you sat in it, the cross would close, and they put the fuel line right through the cross, and when it closed, it just shut down the fuel.
Like
so yeah, I guess about $3,000 later, we figured out it, you know, it was basically just unclamping a hose and rerunning it. But that was the first one, and then finally when we got it running, I took it down and had some, I think, changed some lines and had some things done at this place in Mount Ephraim, and drove it back, no problem. Took it around the block, and something happened. They did something with the accelerator, and the accelerator stuck down to the floor, and here I'm flying down the road trying to figure out, you know, what do I do? Do I find a pole? So I went to turn off the key, and when I went to turn the key off, I hit I hit the shifter. It was an automatic. Hit the shifter, threw it into reverse, did a 180 and started speeding backward right into the parking lot. And I finally got to the key and shut it off. And I didn't hit anything, thank God. But man, what an experience that was.
Yes, that's an interesting way of parking.
If I remember correctly, you guys enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yes, that was a highlight. Watching that. It was like a stuntman.
Yeah, I kind of felt like a stuntman.
And when you were done, everyone was safe. The
Yeah.
car was parked.
Yep. That's kind of where it stayed for a little while before I got back into it. Yeah.
You were white. You had no blood in your face.
Yeah, that was a fun day.
Tell me about your Ford Lightning with racing. You had mentioned that you raced at the track with it.
Yeah. Yes.
So how did that all come about?
Well, again, you had a big part of that because you had your Lightning and you had it all bulletproofed and set up for racing. So
Bad influence.
yeah, so nah, you know what? It was fun. So when we were tweaking the truck, we put a Whipple supercharger on it, changed some pulleys and fuel pumps, and I wasn't really satisfied with that. So I decided that I wanted a little something extra there. So had the nitrous kit put on it, and I think if I remember correctly, when we had it set up originally, they put the 50 shot on it. So I decided I don't want a 50 shot, I wanted a 100 shot, so we changed that, had it tuned, and took it down the track. And the one thing that we forgot about was the human error of nitrous and how when do you hit the button, when don't you? So I made my runs and I couldn't get traction coming off of the line because I would just I'd hit the pedal and it was set up on the floor, so when you hit the pedal into the floor, it automatically injected the nitrous. So finally got that squared away, got one for a finger, and then playing around. I think at the time when I first had the nitrous, I was running mid 12s, maybe high 12s. That truck should have been running in the 10s probably. So we switched it, got it to the button, and I think, unfortunately, the best run I ever got was maybe 11.9. And I remember talking to the guy who tuned it, and he was like, "Yeah, you're doing something wrong there." I never really got it. I'm not sure if you took it for a run once and maybe got it to the mid 11s. But
I would say yes. I remember driving it at least one time.
Yeah.
You said, "Here, take it. See what you can do."
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a learning curve.
But even with that, the neat part about that, I don't know, if you've ever drag raced, you could take a limousine down the track. But if you floor it and you just go, just the feeling, you get thrown back into the seat and all that adrenaline. But with that nitrous, the best part wasn't running and having it inject and go. The best part was when you went at night and you sat at the line and you sat there and you primed the nitrous, and when you purged it, they had a little injector came right out of the grill, and it would just shoot the nitrous out. And if it was cool, it would just look like ice coming out of the thing. And the crowd sitting there going, "Ooh, ah." That was the best part. I didn't want to leave. I just I'll just sit here.
Do that the whole time.
Yeah, well, that's half of my bottle went out the front because it was just so cool.
So do you remember the fastest you ever drove in any car, drag racing?
Yeah, the truck definitely. I think I did 108 on one run, and I think going down the freeway, I think I got it up to 120. And then I got a little scared and I said, "Yeah, we need to stop." And I remember talking about something like that. I remember in the T-bucket, I wanted to see how fast that would go. You're driving in basically a bicycle, with a steering wheel. And remember getting that. It was a brand new road. I figured, let me do it. Got it up to about 70 miles an hour, and both the front wheels just started going, flopping up and down. And that was that for that. That was it. So, Yeah, probably the truck and 120. I think I got it up to was probably the fastest I've ever gone.
You said you had some special memories about a particular car. Do any other come to mind?
Yeah, yes. So I had a '67 Camaro Convertible. Bought it. Wow, I can't even remember how I got it, but got it and figured, well, let me get this redone. So actually, that's one that I actually started to try to do on my own. I did the interior, had the interior pretty much set. It was a 327. It had the power glide transmission. I wanted to put a Hirsch shifter in it and do all this neat stuff to it. But the car, if I remember correctly, the car was kind of like an ugly brown. It was really a nasty color. Chrome was good on it, everything was good. So I said, you know what, let me get it painted. Now this was long before I knew anybody as far as painters or anything like that. So a friend of mine turned me on to a friend of his that had rented a garage. And it was somewhere in Gibbsboro. And I went and I met the guy, and you know, he sounded like he knew what he was talking about. Of course, I didn't know what I was talking about, so it didn't matter to me. So he's like, oh, I can do it, you know, $2,000. I'm like, cool, all right. Going to paint the whole thing. Yep, all right. I picked the color. It was this really, really gorgeous blue. So take the car down, and, you know, my first clue should have been like, you know, I'll have it done in a week. Well, it's going to be 2 weeks. Now it's 3 weeks. Now it's months. And now, you know, we're getting into like the second month. How's it coming? Oh, I'm going to paint it tonight, you know, blah, 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 blah. So finally, it's done. He's like, all right, it's all done. Come and see it. I come down and look at it. And I'm like, you know, wow. You can cut that, right? Sorry. I'm like, wow. You know, this thing looks awesome. It's a metallic blue. Looks great. Pay the guy. I drive out. And I had it maybe about 3 days. I'm driving down the road and kind of looked like somebody was waving to me on my right. I'm like, what is that waving? I'm looking, and here it's the paint is like just lifting off of the hood, and it's flopping around, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? Get home, that section's lifted, and then I'm looking on the side, and there's bubbles all down the side. Well, I mean, you could have taken this and used it for your sheets. That's how it was coming off. This was back when they were painting it in lacquer. Wow. So the thing was just peeling off left and right. I go back, the guy's gone. Nobody knows where he's at. He's taken off. So that was a hard lesson. You know, I didn't have money at the time, but I had to get the car repainted, you know, and reshot and everything. And I think you have a couple pictures of the car. It ended up being red, and, you know, changed my mind on the color and all that stuff. I mean, finally they did it, and they did it right. But that was another learning experience. And
so out of all the cars you've driven that you've owned, do you have a favorite that sticks out?
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. You know, with all the stuff that I had, I would say probably my favorite was when they redid the Challenger, and it came back out. I think it was 2010 it might have came out. I got an 11 new, and that car was probably one of my favorites. It was stock, really didn't do anything crazy to it. 470 horse out of the factory, big enough to have kids in the back, you know. And it was just a super nice car. It was great looking. That was fun. It drove nice, you know, really could go anywhere you wanted to. You didn't have to worry about anything. That was probably one of my favorites. And the other favorite was probably, I'd say probably my first T-Bucket, just because it was just a different experience, you know. And it was something that nobody had, and there was things done to that nobody ever saw before. You know, it turned heads.
Let's go take a look at John's ride.
All right, it's a 57 Chevy pickup. It's got a 350 Chevy motor. It has a Camaro subframe in it. That's why the engine kind of sits so low, and that's why my mind keeps going to blower, blower, blower. But you know what? I mean, it runs so good. I just probably going to leave it alone. And you can see they did some chrome, and they changed the points and everything. It's got an electric fuel pump in it, and they did the vintage air. The guy actually, when he sold me the truck, it came with papers. This came from California. Some guy in California did it, and all the receipts were there. And this guy, I mean, he did it from the ground up. So he really did a nice job. It's not, I don't think it's 100% like show car, like, trailer queen kind of thing. You can drive it. It runs fine, and take it places, but it's just nice enough. You
got your truck back. You had a truck, the Ford Lightning.
Right.
So this is your second truck.
This is my second truck. A little different. Obviously I don't think I'd be carrying furniture in it. Where the Lightning was more multi-purpose. You could carry furniture or do other things with it, but this one, it's got the bed, but you might be able to put down a blanket and carry something small, but not something you want to haul things with. The cab can be a little tight because this has the stock tank in it, which is behind the seat. So a lot of guys, what they'll do is take that out, and you'll get maybe 4 to 6 inches, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot, as far as legroom goes. And they'll put a fuel cell in the bed. Thinking about doing something like that because it'd be nice to have a little more room.
And this has the bubble window.
Yeah.
Which was a special to these trucks.
I believe it was.
Deluxe, I guess?
Yeah, I think they called it a Deluxe with panoramic glass. And believe it or not, that's kind of one of the things that attracted me to the truck. You definitely don't have any problem with blind spots or anything like that. You can see everything. But yeah, that window, I think, to me, that visually is what's the word? It's visually appeasing. I don't.
Well, you can make words up.
Yeah, I can make them up. That's a word today.
Appealing.
Yeah, appealing. Yeah, it's not, and the front and the rear both kind of come around the side, which is kind of neat. Definitely a lot of glass.
Yeah, I do think they call it a bubble glass.
Do that? Okay.
I think that's what it is. But show us the inside, what you did there.
So I believe that's a stock bench seat. It was recovered, but they again did more of a Restomod kind of thing. The chrome column, the low car shifter. They again put the vintage air in there. I really like the gauge package they put in it. A lot of guys go with the digital gauges. That has digital miles. Odometer, but outside of that, they are, they're regular gauges, which is kind of cool. I like that look better. And it's kind of minor, but I just like the way the dash is a painted dash.
That's something from that era.
Yeah.
Everything seemed to be painted.
Yep. And again, I mean, they didn't skimp on that. I mean, that's painted as nice as the truck. So, yeah, it's a nice little setup.
And any traction bars?
No, I mean it's the stock rear. The only thing that I can see underneath that's been changed is the exhaust, dual exhaust, but it's not too loud. I wasn't sure about the wood on the bed, but I get a lot of comments about it, and people seem to like it. It's different. I was thinking about doing like a power tonneau cover on it, but you know what? You got the wood on the floor, you got the wood on the bed, and it kind of plays off of each other. I I like the way they have the gate set up with the hooks. Again, it's different. You don't see too much of it. And quite honestly, I don't know if that gate opens. I don't know. There was something about it. It just caught my eye, and that was that, you know.
So this would be considered a flare side.
Correct. Yes.
That's what they would
Yeah.
call that.
Yep. And he did the nice little touch with the chrome floor in the front, the chrome step.
The steps, okay.
And you know, again, it's kind of, it sounds cheesy, but Krager's and Ray's white letters on this truck just looks, it's the look. It's what it looks like. It was made for the truck.
If you like this video, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you stay up to date on my upcoming videos.